Hello. RJB here with another set of replays for your entertainment here on my YouTube channel. And today we have the lovely green map. It's from the Toki Clan League Season 2. Toki is Lovely Rabbit. He hosted a Clan League. He hosted 2 seasons of it. Well, 1 season, and then he made the Season 2 map, but he never started Season 2. And I don't know why. There's probably a good reason for it. I helped finance Season 1. I think Season 1 was won by Clan Style, because honestly, they just have the best team players out of all the team players, namely Gensei and Shin and Lucky Back. And it's pretty hard to beat those. And there's also G-Style and 3D Style. Anyway, that aside, in this case, on this match, we have Leebokgu here on the top corner of the map, playing the blue Terran, originally the, I don't know, some color. And he's here playing against 1588 Trisha, who's playing the red Terran on the bottom middle of the map. He's a pretty good Terran player, Protoss player. And he always hosts this lovely green map for the sake of variation. And I wanted to do a Trisha replay because I think he retired. At least he disappeared in early February. Very early February. He disappeared, like completely disappeared without a trace from Battle.net, and all of his social pages are also removed. Which is quite sadly, because he's a really great guitar player. He made really fun and great guitar playing videos. He had some real skills, could play some really technical solos, but all of it is gone. He just removed all of it, and he's nowhere to be found. Kind of miss him. He's great to talk to. And I just wanted to make a video of his play once more, just as a reminder of the guy. Because he sent me his replays, and he was really looking forward to having his replays casted. And I've only casted two of his sets so far. And he starts off with the somewhat standard build, although his pylon in the choke is a little bit delayed, because most of the time people go for a Nexus, pylon, 2 gates, pylon in the front, but he hasn't made that pylon in the front there yet. He is, however, diligently producing zealots. He also made that +1 Nexus right after the 2 gateways. He's got a single gas there instead of 2. Most of the time people make 2, but he wants 1. He's got a cybernetic score on the way as well, no forge. So he's planning on being somewhat aggressive, but I don't know if being aggressive with just 2 gateways is going to cut it against a player like Leebokgu, because he has such good micro control, quick reactions. He's a very quick and efficient player, though his APM is not one of the highest, although of course 300 is still very high. He manages to do the same amount of stuff with 300 that most people manage to do with 400. So he's a really impressive player in that regard, has really high EAPM, and has over the past year and a half, I think, improved more than anyone else. I even dare say he's become one of the top fastest players within Korea. Over the past year and a half, he's shown the most growth out of anyone. Specifically with Protoss, he's been very creative. His multitasking is off the charts. So yeah, first cannon coming out here for, well, it's a robotic facility. First cannons are going to come out here in the front. Leebokgu made himself a really nice, pretty wall. Made +2 command center. He's only playing on 2 barracks, which is why Trisha is capable of doing this. Because the unit count is somewhat at a point where Leebokgu cannot really fight into those zealots. He can, although, move back and forth, micro back and forth, hit and run, guerrilla warfare, trying to delay or stop those cannons from coming down. And the fact that the Marines can walk through the little space between the depots here really comes out handy for Leebokgu. Leebokgu here, though, is losing a lot of his Marines, and those cannons in the back are gonna come up, which is not what he wants, but Trisha is pulling back. Trisha goes back in because he wants to buy time for the cannon, but the cannon finishes up. Leebokgu goes for the cannon itself, but he's gonna wind up losing all of his Marines there, and a single cannon there is coming up. Robotic facility in the meantime has finished. Another one is also on the way. Also went for the Citadel of Fadun. And I'm suspecting Zealot Lags to be coming up very soon. Because that's what you do with a Citadel of Fadun. Support bay there in the front. That's very greedy. Very greedy support bay placement. In case Leebokgu goes for the counterattack. So Leebokgu is just licking his wounds after losing all of those Marines and not succeeding in stopping the cannon from coming up there in the front. Even open up a hole there in the front. Zealot's now walking through, almost no Marines in the base to fight it off. He's just gonna go straight for whatever he can find. He can stop those SCVs from building those buildings. He can maybe stop this SCV, or maybe he's going for the SCVs on the minerals. Maybe he's just getting information of the entire base itself. Goes to disrupt the economy. I think it would have been a better choice to cancel those SCVs building the factories and the barracks. But eventually he does wind up killing a couple of SCVs and deals a little bit of damage to the academy, but that is not that worthwhile, not that important at all. So no Zealot Lags are coming out. He is going for a double Dark Templar. He's going for Storm Upgrade as well, and there is single Forge, single Cybernetics, and 2 Reavers on the way as usual. Still the single cannon there in the front, preventing Leebokgu from moving out, although I think he could try to fight into that cannon. But he would wind up losing a couple of Marines, which would make defending against the impending drop from Trisha a little bit harder. So siege mode is on the way. Tank is on the way as well. Both have only just now started. Leebokgu is cutting it very, very close to the edge. Because this Reaver here is going to try to mow down the front, and Marines are not that great into those Reavers. He's only flew a single Reaver over. Didn't fly the second Reaver over because it hadn't finished yet. So just tearing down the front here with that single Reaver. Dark Templars are coming in as well because he took down those turrets. Going to focus on the depots. Reaver there in the back just to ensure the Dark Templars won't get taken down by Marines or a scan once they do come over. Siege mode is almost up. There comes the scan. Single Dark Templar does not go down. He manages to save the Dark Templar, save the Reaver as well. Tank has siege mode finished right about now. Yep, just finished up. Can start sieging up now, which means that the frontal push is coming to an end. And Trisha has to start building up for another form of attacking, either from the sides or from the front, because the front is wide open, but the front is now being plugged up by Leebokgu. Doesn't want to give Trisha the chance to just walk right in there with Speed Zealots or anything of that kind, although Speed Zealots are not on the way. It is, however, an option, and considering he hasn't been scanning all that much, it was a viable, legitimate option for Leebokgu, or for Trisha to walk in through the front. But Trisha is instead going for a 2 shuttle drop, 3 Reavers, single Templar, single Zealot, and he's going to try to get in over the hill here. But there's an engineering bay there, which is going to at least deal damage to the shuttles before you can unload anything. But that single Reaver and that drop is an absolute dud. He had come in from the top side here. He would have, the shuttles would have started firing. I mean, the turrets would have started firing once the shuttles were past the hill, and he'd have been capable of unloading at least 3 Reavers and maybe the Templar and the Zealot as well before the shuttles went down, and he'd been capable of dealing a lot more damage if he went on this side. But of course, he does not know that this side is less well defended or doesn't have vision over the hill. The shuttle, though, miraculously makes its way through. Templars there on the low ground. Templars get their storms off, and Templars! This completely goes unnoticed by Leebokgu. That is very unfortunate, but also very, very sloppy on the awareness from Leebokgu there. That shuttle just made its way all the way in, completely unresponded. SCVs didn't get saved and pulled to safety, and Trisha has just been put in a position where he is most likely going to win this game. Most likely going to win. He is not that big yet, but he is spending his minerals very, very well, getting his drops all up and running. He's even starting a carrier expo here in the top, or so I assume, because there's no other reason why you would make pylons there, if not for a carrier expo or a gateway expo. But it's most likely going to be a carrier expo, because that is the meta. Quick, fast carriers. An important detail is he's going for airship plating, because that means that shuttles take reduced damage when they're flying into the enemy base, and they can probably unload more units or go down a little bit slower, or maybe get farther into the base than if they didn't have that armor. So smart little optimization there from Trisha. Got every single upgrade on the way as well. Likewise for Leebokgu, he's got some upgrades on the way for himself as well. But he's significantly smaller with that 37, 30, 40 SCV count as opposed to that 80 probe count from Trisha. So he's halfway there. And Trisha is about to start throwing some serious punches. But Leebokgu has been doing really well with building this row of turrets there on the side, which is at least going to take down that Corsair and possibly some of the shuttles before they can completely unload. He manages to unload, but now another drop is coming in as well. Leebokgu is not once again focused on the real drop. Real drop makes its way through. Storm comes down. How many SCVs are going to go down? About 11? Only 11 SCVs go down this time around. Oh, wasn't 9. Alright, 11 did go down in the end. It was 46 to 35. So you got 11. Storm comes down, misses the Marines, now hits the Marines with the second storm, and the third storm hits the Marines too. Killing all the Marines there except for this one, and the tank that's also still there is not morphing those Templars into Archons. Would have been a great choice though, because then they would have been able to kill that tank and probably take down a couple of those turrets there on the bottom side as well. But Trisha is instead focused on building all of these gateways here on the middle. Gateway XP on the middle because the distance is shorter than if he started making those gateways inside of his own base. So Trisha is really ramping up the aggression here, and Leebokgu is not managing to hold out all that well, losing a lot of units, once again losing SCVs, and staying rather small. Now all that Trisha has to do is break through the front here and really start making Leebokgu regret his lack of awareness and start punishing him harder and harder and kill him. But he's taking it slow. He's taking it slow. He does have a huge mass on the way, all queued up and being warped in. Another shuttle comes in from the right side. And this one, I hope Leebokgu responds to it. He sees it. He starts targeting the shuttles. The shuttles do not get to unload their Templar. The Zealot did get unloaded. Kill a couple of units there on the low ground, but nothing that really hurts Leebokgu. So great response there from Leebokgu this time around. Manages to prevent himself from losing too much economy. Also knows that the next logical step for Trisha is to go for a frontal attack, so he keeps his units closer to the front. Oh, now he pulls back. The timing is about the time where a frontal attack should be happening, or carriers should be happening. He's been scanning very diligently. Sorry, very difficult word. He's been scanning very diligently. That's it. Alright, so small mass here in the front. More units are joining the mass. And another drop off, about exactly 6 shuttles, has been loaded up here by Trisha. He's going to try and fly in over the bottom side. Or is he going to try to unload behind the frontal wall? He's going to unload behind the frontal wall. Leebokgu just used the scan, so we saw it coming, already moving all of the units there up to the front. Depots there in the front going down. The Archons are tearing through units there in the back. Now Zealots are streaming in through the back as well. I think Templars would have been a better choice there, because that's a lot of Marines that could have been stormed to death. And that would have guaranteed a successful frontal push into the base and probably gotten him a lot more damage than if he had not turned those into Archons. If he had turned into Archons like we're seeing now, the Archons did not do all that much. Did help with breaking through the front, but didn't kill all that many units there in the back. His supply count, however, did drop by about 30 or 40, so he did kill a lot of Marines, a couple of tanks in the front, but in the process he also lost his entire mass, and there are still more tanks spawning, and they're all spread out there in the back. That's a really great way of defending, because if the tanks are spaced out just a little bit, there's more distance to travel for the Zealots before they can hit all the tanks. That's a really great setup here from Leebokgu. Enables him to defend. Trisha is really massing it up really hard here. Now starts adding on probably pylon for cannons here as well, just to keep Leebokgu boxed in. He's got another drop prepared, but the drop is not going in just yet. He wants to go in with those ground forces first, maybe clear out a couple of tanks in the front, maybe draw Marines from the back to the front, and probably kill them. Though he's not having much success, Leebokgu is microing those Marines really well, pulling them from the front to the back, from the back to the front, to keep them out of harm's way, and the tanks do all the hard work. But the shuttle's now coming in. There's very little there in the back. Templars there on the low ground. Templars storming. Templars hitting a couple of SCVs, but not that many. Most of the SCVs stay alive and get out unscathed. Well, they did take some damage, but they at least prevent them from dying, which is a huge move there for Leebokgu, because if those SCVs had died on this low mineral count, he would have been in a really bad spot to keep on defending himself, because Trisha basically has a huge lead there. And the lead, the longer this game goes on, that lead is going to diminish, and Leebokgu is going to crawl himself back into this match. Well, he might have already clawed himself back into the match, because Trisha does not have carriers on the way, and against this many tanks, you definitely do need carriers, or you need a really strong drop there on the back line, or you need to unload shuttles on top of the tanks, so that tanks start killing each other, and that the zealots can circumvent the long range it takes to get in range on top of those cannons. Like if you just walk in, they die before they reach the tanks, or they pretty much are already on such low HP by the time they reach the tanks that they cannot deal damage. So unloading units on top of the tanks with shuttles is always a very good choice. And yeah, Trisha is starting to notice that the ground forces are not getting that much results. So he's already switching over to carrier attack there on the side of the map. Drop now flying in, but Leebokgu already sees it. He targets on... Looks like he's just gonna unload on top of the tanks there, because he sees that he cannot fly in for the minerals. So might as well turn around and try to get as much as you can out of those shuttles, because those shuttles are going to die regardless whether he flies in or turns back. But even the turnaround and trying to unload on top of the tanks did not yield many results. Tank starting on, cannon starting on the middle. Leebokgu feels that he's big enough. He feels that he's big enough and that this town is not big enough for the both of us. Or well, the both of them. And he goes out for the counterattack. Sets up his tanks there in the front. And starts leapfrogging forward with more tanks, little bit by little bit. Always smart to at least have a line or group of tanks sieged up while you move forward with another group of tanks, so that the tanks that are moving forward are protected by the tanks that are behind it and are sieged up. Another drop comes in, Marines moving in, Marines targeting the shuttles, shuttles going down, one shuttle makes it through, one shuttle starts unloading, but only a single shuttle makes it out. No Templars have unloaded. Leebokgu is playing this out really well. Carriers are already on the way though, which is going to spell a lot of trouble there for Leebokgu. Although he does have a lot of factories and he has the ability to produce a lot of Goliaths on the fly, but I don't think he knows that this is here on the top side of the map. So I think that those carriers are going to catch him by surprise, although he just used the scan, and he actually scanned the expo there. That is huge. He's been scanning the side spots one by one. He sees the carrier expo there. He knows the carriers are existing in the very near immediate future, although it's only 6 carriers. So it has to be a mix of ground forces with carriers coming out to try and defend, because basically Leebokgu is now the aggressor and Trisha is now the defender. And this is what happens when you lose the race against the clock. The turn gets so big that they can start pushing out and they get ground dominance, and the only option you have against ground dominance is air dominance. The air option, the carrier option. But Leebokgu is really good against carriers, but whether he's going to... whether it's going to be enough, I'm not sure. It will only be 8 carriers though. And they have not spawned yet, because they are very slow with the speed at which they warp in. And tanks are already rolling over to try and kill those pylons here to stop those carriers from spawning. And he's going to work on at least a couple of those stargates. Actually, he's just going for the stargates themselves. 6 carriers have finished up, interceptors are on the way. Units have been dropped here on the in-between point to stop more units from coming in and joining the units there on the middle. He still has all of his zealots rally pointed, didn't change the rally points, that's unfortunate. Little oversight, because now that means that zealots are spawning, but they're walking straight into their deaths without fighting back. Now Trisha is now trying to race against the clock, because he needs... He killed the... he cancelled the carriers here on the top side, flying the carriers back to his base. His mid-build is getting run over by tanks and Goliaths. More Goliaths I assume are on the way, tanks are finishing up as well. His base looks like a mess, but it's really working because he just has to produce. Because Trisha is on his hind foot. Dark Temples are coming out into the middle of the map, but they're still ready pointed and fighting into those tanks. But the scan comes out. to counter and attack the Dark Templars. He's quickly making cannons in the front, adding gateways there in his base as well, trying to make new starports really quick as well for more carriers, because he knows that his carrier count is too low to fight into all those Goliaths and tanks. And Leebokgu is not even sieging up, he's just rolling straight in there. You see him rolling, and Trisha gotta be mad. Trisha gotta be hating. And it looks like Leebokgu is managing this really, really well. And Trisha has somewhat misfired. He was really close, but it seemed to have not worked out because he made some very small, minute mistakes where he should have optimized. He didn't go for optimization or execution, and Leebokgu is just rolling straight in there. He wants to go straight for the cannons that are protecting the Nexus so he can start hitting the probes, but this might have been a little bit too greedy, or maybe he's trying to replace supply in tanks with supply in Goliaths. That's why he's sending those tanks in without really caring if they die or not. More carriers on the way for Trisha. He's got 6 carriers being produced. He's got upgrades for air on the way as well. He's already on 2, 3, 1, which is quite odd. Level 1 weapon upgrade for those carriers, interceptors specifically. Whereas Leebokgu is already on 2, 3, almost on 3, 3. He's got level 3 armor on the way. He's got ship weapon damage on the way as well. Dark Templars are successfully fighting off those tanks. And what looked like a sure death push from Leebokgu onto Trisha seems to have turned around. He still had the probe alive there on the top side, so he now has carrier production capacity once again here on the top side. In his base and on the top side. He killed the pylons here. That's actually really good from Leebokgu, killing the pylons to stop production from those Stargates. Stargates still have a lot of carriers in them, and they're about to finish up right when the pylon starts. He's moving out once again, but this time there's a lot of Goliaths moving over the middle of the map, preparing himself to start fighting against Trisha. But there's a couple of Dark Templars there in the mix, dealing a little bit of damage against those Goliaths. Vessels now there to detect the Goliaths. Trisha is going for the attack move. He wants to go for the base trade, so he's moving in on Leebokgu, killing the side there. But those Goliaths are taking down those interceptors rather quick, so he has to pull back those carriers, but he's flying in a drop at the same time as well. Drop makes it in all the way, but the drop is going to get sniped. Templars get sniped, Templars on the low ground, Templar storms all of the SCVs there. So actually he did get some results with the storm. That's a great sign for Trisha. But now he very quickly has to send those carriers back to base, but Leebokgu intercepts the carriers as they're moving back, and he starts target firing on the carriers, and the carriers are going down very quickly as Leebokgu is microing his Goliaths to chase down those carriers, and the carriers, 3 of them have gone down. 4 of them are still alive, more carriers are spawning inside the base. I assume a couple of ground forces, mostly Dark Templars are on the way as well, but Leebokgu has plenty of scans, he's got vessels on the way as well, so those Dark Templars are not going to make much of a difference. It's mostly have to be the carriers, but the carrier count is really low. He's got 9 carriers, 8 carriers, because carriers are dying so damn quick. 9 carriers. 9 carriers in total. Dark Templars are on the ground as well. Dark Templars are actually doing a lot of work there, because the Goliaths are focusing on the interceptors, which means that the Dark Templars somewhat have free fire on those Goliaths, so Leebokgu is forced to focus fire on the Dark Templars manually, which is doing really well. The carriers are losing interceptors. Leebokgu's money is very quickly going down, but he's replacing his lost SCVs with new ones. So we should be back at full production capacity and capability very soon once the economy catches back up. Although his unit size, his mass size is really massive now. He even has room for raids now, and those raids are going to tear through those carriers because there's no observer there protecting the carriers against raids. He did manage to clear out all units inside of his base. All the Goliaths have gone down, the tanks as well, but another group of units is coming in from Leebokgu. Leebokgu very slowly moving forward. Dark Templars there on the low ground once again taking care of those tanks, of those Goliaths, but now the raids are coming in. Carriers are cut out of position. There's no detection there. Carriers are going to get taken down really quick. Now there is detection, but it's a lot of raids there. He's now going to try to fight back against the raids, but the raids tear down through those carriers so damn quick because they have their upgrades all up and running. There goes carrier number 2 or left, and Trisha calls it GG. Trisha calls it GG. I do think he had a chance here to stay alive for a little while longer, because he has 2 of those carrier production locations on the map. I wanted to say Stargates. He's got 2 separate locations to build Stargates, but he decides against making another wave of carriers. He has a lot of minerals to spend, and I think he actually taps out prematurely. Because he did kill a huge chunk of Leebokgu's mass, and Leebokgu has to kind of wait for a couple of seconds. Well, I say he has to wait about 20 seconds or something for the next wave of units to spawn to catch up in supply. Likewise, Trisha also has to catch up in supply, but considering both players have to catch up with their supply, like it's 136, 164, most of Trisha's supply or Psy is inside of his gateways and his stargates, so it is not really an accurate representation. But nonetheless, this game was far from over. He has the time to make a lot of canister in the front, keep Leebokgu out of his base. He has the ability to start making gateways here on the side as well, make even more stargates, start making carriers. All in all, just to keep it very short, Trisha tapped out prematurely. He tapped out prematurely. A little bit sad to see, but the game was somewhat exciting. Leebokgu played it really well. Trisha played it somewhat well. He did what he had to do. He hit a couple of drops, which is really good. But I think he kind of failed when he did the Archon drop there on the front. Instead of just dropping Templars to storm all the Marines that are in the back. Because those Marines that are in the back wound up killing a lot of units that came streaming in through the front that Trisha broke through. And I think the game somewhat turned around right at that point. And from that point, Trisha played rather sloppy. And Leebokgu played really well. Anyway, there is a second game in the set, and I'm gonna cast that one right now. So for game number 2, we have the exact same matchup on the exact same map. TCL Season 2. Trisha on the Protoss, the red Protoss once again, and Leebokgu on the blue Protoss here in the bottom corner. And I honestly hope that Trisha's execution is a little bit more on point this time around. And that Leebokgu, well, I just hope Leebokgu plays at the same level he did last game. I just hope Trisha irons out some of the inconsistencies he had in his play last time around. He did all of the right moves though. He did all of the right moves. The right strategy, the right tactics, is the execution wasn't always on point. Which I think is one of the biggest differences in what makes a player hit the next level. Because in a sense, Hamburger Sazo, for example, is doing the exact same things that Leebokgu and Trisha are doing, but his execution is always so crisp and precise. Same for Brain God, although I also have to admit Brain God plays on a higher level strategically. His brain game is very high. It's just the best of any fastest map players. Brain God just has the best strategy and understanding of fastest map, without a doubt. But one of the key things he excels at is execution and setup. He manages to make things work so damn well because his execution is flawless. Whereas Trisha, he did make a couple of mistakes. And that is something I've been seeing more often, that he makes small mistakes that can cost him games. And even though those small mistakes look so very, very small, and you might not even notice them, they wind up having the effect of giving his opponent that little bit of extra time, that little bit of extra units to help him defend, stay alive, and start snowballing his economy and his base and his mass size into the bigger size, where it becomes a race against the clock for the Protoss before the turn hits, as a friend of mine like to call it, critical mass, where he can no longer be stopped. And I think that quite accurately describes it. Reaching critical mass is one of the things a Terran has to do, where the Terran can no longer be stopped by their opponent. So yes, same builds as last game. Zealots coming in, trying to fight with the Marines, trying to micro his Zealots forward. But Leebokgu is just pulling back, regrouping with more Marines so he can fight back without really having to micro. Although he still goes for the micro, loses a single Marine. Zealot's taking a lot of damage. One Zealot almost goes down, but he will make it out alive just in time. 2 more Zealots there on the way. And once those Zealots come and regroup, he's going straight back in. That Zealot all the way in the back. This is really close to dying. Only had 1 HP at one point. Zealot's just chasing those Marines down. Marines trying to retreat. Leebokgu microing this quite well, but still winds up losing most of his Marines, while 3 Zealots are still alive, and 4 Marines cannot fight into 3 Zealots. But now there are medics in the mix as well, which might flip tables, might turn the game. Zealots do retreat. After killing most of the Marines, a single SCV. But Leebokgu is making a barrack there very sneakily in the corner, because Trisha is one of those players who does not make his pylon in time. He makes it really, really late, which also means that he cannot see this SCV leave the base in the case that it does leave the base. He does have a cannon on the way though, just in case firebats are an option Leebokgu is going for. But Leebokgu at the moment is too busy defending with firebats, which are really, really good against Zealots. There's no cannon here in the front yet. He's making a cannon, he's making a robotics facility at the same time as well. Firebat is being produced here on the side, but the cannon has finished up. But it could probably reach the probes before the Firebat dies, although he stims it very, very early. And it takes only 2 shots for that Firebat to die. 3 shots actually. Firebat goes down, and Trisha might not have noticed it, because he's not looking at his base, he's looking at the fight here, looking at all kinds of other things. Multitasking, not up to par at the moment. But he is winning the fight here. He killed most of the firebats. Going to kill more Marines as well. And Leebokgu is having quite a bad time defending himself because he's losing continuously a lot of units. Whereas Trisha has not really lost anything whatsoever. Another firebat has been made there. Firebat number 2 as well. Doesn't look like Trisha knows it's there. I think he completely missed that the firebats were there. And if he makes 3 firebats, he can definitely get in on those probes and turn this game around, because right now the game is looking to be in Trisha's favor, because Trisha has been keeping Leebokgu on his toes a little bit too much. Leebokgu has lost a lot of units, a lot of resources, has been going in to fighting against those Zealots. But the firebats are going in. Trisha pulls off his probes, but the firebats are gonna make it through. The firebats are getting blocked. He gets a couple of shots off. There's one more shot. Does he get him? He gets about 5. But another group. Ooh, that one was really close. That was really close. But it looks like Trisha comes out almost just fine. He did wind up winning the fight here inside of his own base at the same time. But Trisha's still on the hunt for more kills. And a support base on the way here for Trisha. He's got a shuttle on the way as well. No Reavers yet, because he needs a support bay for that one. Does have not have Zealot lags on the way. I think Zealot lags would have been a really, really great option here. Oh, he's going for Zealot lags after all. He did lose a couple of probes and some mining time, so he has not been keeping up his Zealot production or his gateway addition. So he's still only on 2 gateways. Leebokgu is now starting to ramp up, because he's feeling the economic boost from that very early +1 command center. So we now can start adding on more barracks, engineering bay as well, because he needs detection and needs anti-drop defense as well. So yeah, Trisha is setting himself up for the double Reaver frontal attack. I assume maybe he's going for the drop. He needs more Zealots for that frontal attack. And currently he's got 5-6 Zealots. Zealot speed is on the way. Zealot speed being on the way does make me believe he's going for the frontal push with the double Reaver. He's already moving his Zealots into position, or maybe he's moving them to the sides. No, he's moving them to the front there. He's putting them into position. Leebokgu is already making a wall with depots. He's got bunkers behind that wall as well. Starts the engineering bay there on the side. He's got a starport on the way as well for raids or for a dropship for a tank drop on the probes. He likes to go for both, so it's really just gotta wait and see what the result's gonna be. And they're being very, very, very greedy there with those Marines. Marines now being caught outside of the base. What is he gonna do? He's gonna try to hunt for the shuttle. No, he's gonna try to hunt for the shuttle. Maybe he killed. He winds up losing the Marines. Whether that was worth it or not, I don't know, because this is going to hurt him a lot. Trisha, though, is being a little bit greedy. Should have just taken down the depot with the Reavers and kept all of the Zealots untouched, and then go in with the Zealots after the depots in the front go down. Does look like killing both depots is going to get Leebokgu supply stuck, but the tank is sieging up and the tank cannot shoot on the Reavers. Zealots going in though. Zealots getting pulled into the fight because they were not on hold position, and they wind up going down, and the frontal attack seems to fall flat where I thought it was going to work. That's a bit of a bummer. It's also, that's also one of the instances where execution from Trisha was not as it should be. He seems to be out of shape by just a little bit. He's got the right idea, he's doing the right things in terms of big movements and macro, but the execution on the micro scale is not where it should be. Really good unload there though on the side. Leebokgu cannot go in with his Marines. He's got to unsiege his tanks, move them to the side to kill those Reavers. He does have a raid there, firing away on the Reavers, but that's a very, very slow process with that 6-8 damage from the burst laser on the raids. So instead he's forced to use the tanks, which works out really well for him. He did wind up losing all of the turrets on the top side, but he kept his Marines alive, which is very important for the next phase of defense that he's moving into. Another big drop being loaded up by Trisha. He's got more gateways finished up as well. Corsairs on the way to protect those shuttles as well. Very slowly filling out his base, making that anti-tank drop defense with all the cannons being spread out there on the sides. Because you never know, a tank drop might just come flying in and kill your probes. There's still a little bit of space here for the tanks to be dropped and hit the probes. So that's a small oversight there, but at least he's got the sides covered here. But Leebokgu's not going for the tank drop just yet. He's just planning to defend himself by spacing out his tanks, his Marines, all across his base to cover every single angle that Trisha can come from. Templars being unloaded. Templars storming on the Marines. Kills a huge chunk of the Marines, but not enough. But he still has one shuttle there in the back, full of Zealots and Templars, and he might just get that one to unload. He might not know, but it's there. I hope he sees it. Then those Templars start storming on the Marines. Marines dodge the storm. He storms again. This time more Marines go down, but he winds up microing his way out of that really nicely. His SCV count is surprisingly low. He lost a bunch of SCVs there though. Not sure when. Did he just unload the Templar and storm on the SCVs while I was up here? Shuttle is still alive. I want to know if this one stormed or not. I can't see it, but I do assume that the SCV, that the Templar inside that shuttle stormed on the SCVs, and the SCV count went down. That's a really, really massive hit for Trisha, because now it means that Trisha is in a better position than he was in last game. He did wind up losing last game, but I think this time around he is going to succeed, because Leebokgu is more badly hurt than last time around. A couple of tanks in the front. He's really been slowed down because he was adding construction. He was adding construction. Words are hard. He was adding structures to his base really quickly, but that's all been slowed down quite significantly. Likewise, he's not making tanks from this one, he's from that one, because his gas is so low, because he's forced to pull his SCVs off of his gas. Settled there in the front, scouting all the things there in the front, but he goes in for a drop. Is he going for the main? Is he going for something else? He's going to be forced to unload before he reaches his destination. Units on the low ground. Templars being unloaded. Templars storming all the Marines are going down. Look at the storms. He's got 6 Templars there in the mix, ready to storm everything that he sees that he can storm. He's storming the SCVs, storming the Marines. The SCVs going down. Marines have all died. A couple of Marines are still left, ready to clear out those Templars. Templars not turning into Archons. Does he still have something in there? He still has this Templar. Oh, Templar storm comes down on the SCVs. More SCVs going down. More storms. I think I've counted about 8 or 9 storms, and the entire exchange in Leebokgu's army size has just shrunk down to pretty much exclude all of the Marines. All the Marines have been cleared out. That was a great hit from Trisha. That really did some work. That really did some work. And I don't see Leebokgu coming back from that one. Like, even though Trisha barely hit any SCVs, that was huge. That was a game changer. Because now there's absolutely no defensive ability whatsoever for Leebokgu. Because now he just has to unload and kill those Marines there on the low ground. That's 2 Templars. The Templars got sniped so damn quick. That was very impressive from Leebokgu, sniping those Templars within a matter of seconds before they could even storm. That's seriously impressive play from Leebokgu. He pulled that off really well. But Trisha already has a drop coming in from the other side, and this time I don't think the Marines are gonna be in location to intercept those shuttles in time, because they're all on the top side, shuttles coming in from the bottom side, and they're reaching destination. And this time he's unloading more Templars, more storms, 2 storms, 3 storms, 4 storms, and the Zealots, 5 storms coming down on Leebokgu, losing about 15 SCVs, and Zealots still on the low ground. They're ready to wreak havoc. Only single Marine there in the bunker. Units being pulled there to the back. And this Templar here on the low ground still alive. 19 kills even. Leebokgu is getting decimated by these drops. Trisha is really hitting home runs this time around. And he's just going in for the next one. He can honestly just drop it anywhere he wants. You can drop it here on top of the front, drop it in the back, drop it on the side, dropping on the top side. He can go anywhere he wants as long as he kills units. He is going to win this game. Reaver on the low ground. Reaver gets taken down. Another Reaver there in the mix as well. This time he's got 5 Templars. Another Reaver there as well. Storms on the SVs, and GG from Leebokgu. That was one nasty drop. This is the most Templars I've seen dropped on a person in my life. Templars were just storming everything. Usually you see 2, 3, or 4 Templars, but no. Trisha was going with 6 and 7 and 8 Templars. Really wreaking havoc, storming Leebokgu to death. He only hit the SCVs about 3 times, and he only killed all the SCVs once. But just killing units can be so damn effective. Because every single time you kill a bunch of units, you make the follow-up drop all the more effective, because it's so much harder to defend with a lower unit count. You can maybe hit 10 SCVs, and it becomes even harder to reproduce and replace the units that you lose, that the opponent is losing. So a really solid drop play there from Trisha. Didn't even have to go for a frontal attack. Didn't even have to go for the conventional forms of attacking. Just sticking to shuttles and winning with the shuttle drops. And unlike game number 1, where Leebokgu managed to fight it all off successfully, this time around Trisha comes out on top and slams a home run. And even though some drops were a little bit sloppy, the drops that really did a couple of those drops really did work and were really well executed. I am once again impressed. So yeah, that's game number 2, and that's it for today. It's a score of 1-1. There's no game number 3. Don't ask me why. I'd like to know why, but I don't know why. There is no replay number 3. So I'm just gonna have to settle with it and hope that you have been amused.